What's up guys and welcome back to On The Brick with another custom mock, and I am so excited to share this one with you. This is the Batmobile Tumbler from the Dark Knight trilogy. But before we go any further, I need to let you know that part of this video is sponsored by Webrick..FUN, and we'll talk about them a little bit more and how you can get discounted pieces in just a few moments. But first, this tumbler comes from the designer named Lucas, and of course the instructions are sold on Brickvault for only $4.99. This build contains only 212 pieces and is actually rather small, but to me, I love it. I know this might be a little controversial in the world of Batman, but this version of the Batmobile is actually my favorite. Yes, there are other versions out there that I do really like, but this is the one that tops the chart for me. And I think Lucas did such a wonderful job capturing it here in such a small scale. Now, technically this is minifig scale, but I'm also a little hesitant to say that. To clarify what I mean, minifigures are not perfectly proportional to human beings. That's something that you should probably just know. The average minifigure is estimated to be about 6 feet in height, but their shoulders are far wider than a normal human being's would be. This means that the proportions when scaled up can get a little wacky. If you've ever heard anyone say that there's no such thing as minifig scale, which is something that I definitely have said before, that's why. Because there is no 100% set scale for it. It's actually a bit of a range. And that range is really between about 1/35th scale and 1/45th scale. But for me, as long as it's somewhere in there, I think that's fine. I know that no matter how much work goes into it, or how big or small or whatever a mock is, there's always going to be something that's not 100% accurate on it. And I really just don't care every single time. If something is wildly off or wildly wrong, then I probably will care. But for something like this, in all honesty, it's about 3 studs too short, and I just could not care at all about it. I think it looks perfectly fine as it is. The profile of this thing is just incredible. It's instantly recognizable the second you look at it, no matter from what angle you see. And when I show it to you from the side here, you can see a lot of the smaller details and techniques that Lucas used to get these shapes and to get this build. Looking at it from the front can be a little intimidating, and if I was the villain in the Batman world, I would definitely be scared of this thing. But equally awesome is the back with these 4 large wheels and the afterburner. You can tell just how much power actually goes into this thing, and that it's not just a nice looking car, this is a tank. But there are a few questions that can come up with something like this, because when a build is this small and intricate, the question of fragility must be brought up. And also, I kind of forgot to mention this earlier, I did use a lot of non-Lego pieces in this that I bought from Webrick. And I am really happy to say that even though there are definitely some parts which can be a little unstable while building, once it's together, it is perfectly fine. You will definitely know where not to handle this thing from. There's areas on the sides that you just don't want to be putting too much pressure on. But pieces are not going to be falling off. You're not going to be thinking that anything's going to break if you just breathe on it. This is a very solid build, and one you can easily handle and move around. So much so, here it is on its side so you can see the roof and just how intricate this area is. Oh, and while we're looking up here, this is actually one problem that I did have with this build, and it's what I just talked about, where there are several areas that are a little fragile when putting together, and that's really just because of how the instructions have you do them. I'm not entirely certain why, but for some reason you'll put a single piece in a place that has no support and then need to just keep building off of that instead of building the entire submodel and then putting it on, which is what I would highly recommend doing. One example of that is back here where these pieces that are inverted connect to the roof by only a single connection, and it's not very stable while you're putting it on there. But you just have to keep building and building and building onto this. And you also do this with the armor plating on each side on the front of the tumbler, but really, like I said, just build the entire submodel and then connect it on. It's so much better. And another issue that I had with the instructions is the program that was used to make this. This model came out many years ago, and if they could redo this, it's one thing that I would probably recommend, only because the program used does this weird thing where new pieces being added on are always shown in pink, regardless of what color they are. Now, in a model like this where everything is black, that's perfectly fine, but there are definitely some issues that can arise. So there are a few places where you're going to find yourself looking at the next step or two just to see if you're putting the pieces on correctly, and I feel like that's something that should just not be a problem. Again, it's not Lucas's fault because the design itself is pretty good, and the program is the one that caused that, so I just wish he had used something different. Now, even if this isn't entirely minifig scale, I do think it looks awesome with Batman standing right next to it. I mean, just look at that, that's like almost perfect. I wish that I had picked up some of the custom Batman armor from Nate's minifigs, but I might just try to make my own at some point to give this a much more accurate look, something similar to what like MGF Customs did. Oh, and that is one more thing about this. You can actually fit Batman inside, but that's the one element of this build that I just don't think really works. I guess in theory you're supposed to be able to open the top, but because of how intricate this is and everything, I just didn't trust that really, and it's not like you can see Batman inside anyway. So just know that if you want to, you absolutely can. I just didn't want to break this and have it all fall apart. So with that said, let's talk about Webrick very briefly and how you can get pieces for cheap. I'm going to be doing a full review of this next week though, so make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you can know when that video comes out. Webrick is a newer company in the world of non-LEGO. They are basically Bricklink just with non-LEGO pieces. I've actually ordered through them several times before, and they completely independently reached out to me wanting to give you guys an awesome offer. If you go to the link in the description down below, you can get 6% off your order of bricks using the code OTBWB6. That's OTBWB6 to get 6% off your order. Now you might be wondering why you should go and check them out at all when something like the tumbler is pretty cheap. And yeah, if you go to Bricklink right now, you'll be able to buy it for $30. But if you go over to Webrick.FUN, again using that link down below, you can get 96% of the pieces for only $9, and that's not including the 6% discount and does include shipping. There is no additional cost on shipping. Those additional pieces that they don't have are the tires and a rare piece, but don't worry because it automatically puts it into an XML format that you can just copy and paste into Bricklink to get. When I bought the pieces for this tumbler, it took only 3 weeks to arrive to me, which for something this small is incredible and I have no complaints about. Everything comes sorted and they are all brand new, nice pieces. If for any reason you have any issues, you can always just reach out to them. They are incredibly good at responding in a timely manner. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, if you want to get mocks for cheaper, go ahead and check out Webrick.FUN and use the code OTBWB6 for 6% off your order. This code does expire on May 13th, so make sure you put your order in soon. That's it for today. If you want to learn more about Webrick, I will be doing a full breakdown of their website in 1 week. And if you want to see a little bit more of the comparison shots going on in the background, check out my other channel, Off the Brick. For now, thank you all so much for watching. I would really love it if you considered liking and subscribing to appease the YouTube algorithm, or if you want to support me more, you can always do so by checking me out on Instagram, Discord, and of course on Patreon, where you can join all of these awesome people and get shoutouts like Jonathan. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.